My name is Candace Friesen. I have a daughter who is 4. Her name is Abigail. I grew up in Medicine Hat. I've been in Lethbridge since 2002 and have been coming to E-Free ever since. I grew up in a home where my family attended church on a regular basis, and at a young age, I'm guessing around the age of 4 or 5, is when I became a Christian and learned who Jesus truly was and asked him to be my savior. I moved to Lethbridge in 2002 to go to university. When I moved here, I became involved in the church in college and career, and also leading worship. And it was through my involvement at church that I was able to meet Liddell. After a great dating relationship, we got engaged and were married in July of 2008, and it was everything I dreamt it to be. I had dreamt of this perfect marriage and finding a godly man. In February of 2011, we headed to Whitefish like we had done numerous times to spend a weekend skiing, or the week skiing. The week right before we left, we had just announced to our family and friends that we were expecting, and we're both over the moon. And so this was a great getaway just to celebrate on our own. As we were driving home, and turned a corner, we came across a semi that was already jackknifed. With nowhere to go, Liddell did the best that he could with our vehicle, and the outcome was out of our hands. I remember after I regained consciousness, assessing the situation, Liddell was not responsive. I just remember hollering. I remember calling out to them, trying to get a response. I remember pleading with God that this is not how that day was supposed to go. In the moments that followed, I remember just knowing based on my faith, knowing based on my convictions that God had the power to save. God had the power to undo what had happened. I also recall in those moments being concerned of what if his answer was no, that he wasn't going to fix this. I remained in the car for a considerable amount of time, just not wanting to leave, not wanting to let go, not wanting this to be how my story was written. Eventually the ambulance came and took to the nearest hospital, where they did different x-rays and did a bedside ultrasound. And I think potentially the hardest thing, or one of the hardest that day, was knowing the reality of losing my husband, but getting that first glimpse of the life that was still okay, the life that God spared. In the days and the weeks following the accident, I remember just really going back to the roots of who I knew God was, the attributes and the character that I'd grown up knowing and believing, and just days where I didn't know how I was going to get through the day. Just constantly having music playing that talked about those characteristics and about the promise and the hope that there is. And there were tons of days where that's the only thing that I could do, just constantly being surrounded by those promises that in the depth of that grief and the depth of the trauma and dealing with those things, just truly recounting where God has been faithful and that he promises to continue. A huge comfort to me has just been knowing Christ knows. He knows everything that's going on. He knows my deepest fears, my deepest hurts. When I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere, when I didn't really fit in with the young marrieds anymore. I didn't fit in with the families. Who do I explain this to that can understand, that can help walk me through this? And just the comfort knowing that Jesus walked on this earth. He knew the depths of all of that pain. Even just with my daughter, the absolute joy that she has brought, the promise of this life carries on, this life has purpose, this life will still has so much goodness in it despite the tragedy.